Namaste. Welcome to Jack Holly's Black Book. I think this is the India Slideshow Part 7, and I think I'm probably going to have 9 or 10 parts by the time I get through showing all of these pictures and talking about the different experiences that we had over in India. And it's late at night here. I've got my bathrobe on. I've got my Jimi Hendrix t-shirt on. So once again, the production value of these videos, I'm sure it's just amazing, people. I'll bet the production value here. But anyway, I want to continue telling people about India. And so I want to start here. This was on the way to the Monkey Temple. So we're kind of going back in time because some of the pictures Mercy sent from her phone to me. And so the first several pictures of this particular segment are going to be out of order. So we'll kind of skip around. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about India is the sincerity of their blessings. And so I found myself, really excited when somebody would look at us and would kind of wave us over, and we could tell that they were individuals that were either priests, or I know that there's different terms for them. I'm still learning all of this. But for example, this particular woman, she had a little tray next to her, so I knew that she was an individual who wanted to bless us. And so here, you can see us here, or see me, and I've got the stripe on my head of the red dye and the orange dye. And, the sincerity of it, I think, is what touched my heart, is that you could tell that this woman really cared about what she was doing. I mean, you could tell that she really wanted to bless you. Now, I'm not sure if Hindus would even use that term. That's just the way I guess I'm framing it. But there was something about having that time, that person do that to you, that was just very touching. So here's Mercy. And then all of the just more of the really cool architecture that you could see. So now we're still heading up to the Monkey Palace. So the monkeys were really fun to watch. And so they're considered holy in this area. And as one of the priests told us, monkeys are holy, but they are also quite naughty. And we learned to feed them peanuts very carefully. We also watched our belongings, because if monkeys were to steal your stuff, it's very difficult to get back. So if monkeys were to take something from you, and they have been known to steal stuff from people that they have an interest in. And this actually happened with Mercy in the Dominican Republic a year or two ago when we were down there. A monkey stole her sunglasses, and somebody from the Dominican Republic stepped in and luckily had a pocket full of peanuts or nuts, and was able to coax the monkey over and then trade some nuts for Mercy's sunglasses. And Mercy did get her sunglasses back, but I don't know that we would have been able to do that. So we learned just to be very careful when we held out the peanut, and then allowed the monkey to reach out, because you did not want to spook the monkeys, because one thing that we noticed is that a monkey that is spooked or scared will become kind of aggressive, and it's quite scary when you hear some of these monkeys screaming because somebody just kind of freaked them out or moved too quickly. A kind of a cool picture of a cow with a monkey on the gate there. And then there was this little shrine, this little part of the temple, and inside was a priest. Again, I want to find out the real names. And this gentleman kind of walked Mercy and I through more of a kind of a short ceremony, a short blessing, where we poured some, I don't think they consider it holy water, but we poured some water on the different statues. I think they're holy water. It's not holy water like you would see in a Catholic church, but it's water that is essenced. I think it has like I don't know if it's like essence of like rose petal or something like that, or some flowers. But anyway, it has a very nice aroma to it. And then you're supposed to sip from it sometimes, and sometimes put it on your cheeks. And Mercy and I decide, well, what I decided was, whenever I had one of these blessings, was I took it and kind of rubbed it on my hands and then just kind of patted my head with it, simply because we did have to be careful. You know, our stomachs and our digestive systems don't have a tolerance for some of the bugs, you know, and some of the germs and some of the bacteria they have on the other side of the world. So we do have to be careful of that. So here we are. We just had purchased some peanuts, and so we're feeding the monkeys as we're walking around. Like I said, these pictures are a little bit out of order. So back to the little shrine area. So this is me having just been blessed. It was kind of interesting where you saw groups of people sitting. Often those were poor people who were having lunch, and people would bring them food. And we noticed that in Varanasi too. So not this is more the Jaipur area, but back in Varanasi, they would tell us that if somebody comes to Varanasi, they will not starve. That Varanasi is a city that they will make sure that you're fed. They will make sure that you have shelter. It's touching how they take care of people. Now that is a very different experience that I'm just describing than when we were in Delhi. So Delhi has many homeless people. As you travel around, they're living under viaducts. They're living under ramps. It's quite sad. Delhi, both sections of Delhi, Old Delhi and New Delhi, it was quite sad. But Varanasi and this area seem to be have this practice of making sure that people were taken care of. So here we are in the Ganesh temple, the temple of Ganesha. So Ganesha is the elephant, and that is the aspect or the attribute of God that removes obstacles. And so I like to think of it in terms of, you know, in the Christian tradition we say, you know, God make this possible. Well, in the Hindu tradition, they say the same thing. The difference is they have one representation or one avatar of a characteristic of God as the remover of boundaries, and that is Ganesha. That's the elephant. And so we're really skipping around here. So here we are back at the Marriott. Here, no, I'm sorry. This is where we're at. Oh goodness, now I can't think of the name. The Watman Mular. I don't know. It's a two-word name, but this is the place that we stayed. That was Mercy and my favorite because it had all of the interesting grounds that I showed in the last video. And so this is where we were. This is our dinner that I'm taking pictures of. There, now that you see this place, you might be able to recognize the place that I'm talking about. So on this particular evening, this is after the day at the Monkey Temple, they had a live band. And notice the gentleman on the left, just below him, are like 7 marionettes. So they would put on these puppet shows, and they had music, and really enjoyed the music. And then they had a couple women who would dance. was really interested in this instrument, of course, because it's a keyboard, and he pushes the back of that back and forth, and there's like a um, I can't think of the word, but like an accordion, like a ballast. I think maybe that's the word that you pump to get air moving through that. And then here's Mercy trying to join the band. It's funny because most of the Indians we took pictures with were very serious, and every once in a while we'd get these Indians who were just kind of goofy. So you can see to Mercy's right, we got somebody making a face there. So there was just a couple of times where we just got a good laugh about people laughing and people making faces, and probably making fun of Mercy and myself. So now this is going to be the road trip between Jaipur and the Taj Mahal. And that was an interesting trip in and of itself. Of course, the Taj Mahal was beautiful. Unfortunately, it was quite, there was a lot of smog that day. But this is going to Jaipur, and one part of the journey took us underneath a mountain. So this is a tunnel. This is a tunnel that we're driving through. See if I can get this to play. Oh, maybe this is a photo. Here we go. So this is a tunnel that we're driving through, right under a mountain. It's a long tunnel. And when you come out the other side, you start to see the extent of pollution in India. And this goes once again back to yin yang and just the chaos and the potential that exists in this country. And this was a good example where you would just drive down the road, and our driver would insist that this was just the fog from the river. And of course, we only saw a couple small rivers between Jaipur and the Taj Mahal. And this was much more, in fact, I wouldn't even say this was much more the rule than the exception. Like, it was this way the whole trip between Jaipur and the Taj Mahal, which was about, if I remember correctly, it was about 4 to 5 hours of this smog. And I was getting concerned because Mercy and I did bring several N95 masks to wear. And because the smog wasn't too bad in other areas, I just didn't even think to bring it. And then, of course, we get in this situation where we're traveling 4.5, 5 hours. And, this was supposed to be a sunny day, for example, right here. It was supposed to be sunny. It was supposed to be, I want to say, low 70s. But because of the smog in this area, you got kind of a nuclear winter, in that the temperature was probably 10 to 15 degrees lower than what they expected. And these are not clouds up here. This is being blocked by the smog. So here's a little place that we pulled over, so our driver needed to get a cup of coffee. And here we are. Here's our driver right here in the car that we drove around in. And interesting, these cars drive on condensed natural gas. And so when you get to the gas station, everybody has to get out of the car. So because in the back trunk of this car is what we in America would see attached to a gas grill. It's like a propane tank. And so they use condensed natural gas. And I'm not sure if that's the same as propane, but it sure connected the same way. It had like a nozzle that locked on, and then they pumped the liquid into these, basically these containers. And then, and that's what the cars drove on, was compressed natural gas. So the cars and the vehicles had CNG. They had these diamonds on them that signified that they would have these tanks in the trunk, and they ran on condensed natural gas. I was curious on the way to Agra, which is where the Taj Mahal is, from Jaipur, about the air quality. And so I found some maps online, and I mean, you can see right here we're at a 151 in terms of air quality, and it's red, it's unhealthy. I don't have much of an appreciation for the scale that they use, but I have an appreciation of the color red. Meaning when it says red and it says unhealthy, then I'm guessing that it was. So this is just more footage, video footage of traveling down this road through the smog. So again, this was like 4.5 to 5 hours of driving like this. And then you would get to some areas where, once we got closer to Agra and closer to the Taj Mahal, the pollution lessened a bit. And so here's just some pictures in Agra, in the town right outside the Taj Mahal. Agra was a little more, I guess, thinned out, maybe might be the word. It just wasn't as, there weren't as many people and as much traffic. So things did seem to flow a little bit more nicely. So here we are at the Taj Mahal. Mercy would be the one, if you have a chance to ask her about the Taj Mahal, she will be the one that she remembers all the facts that were shared with us. And we purchased like a book about the Taj Mahal that she's reading. So this is one of the either mosques or mausoleums. I don't know what, but outside the Taj Mahal. And so this is what you see first. You go through here, and then on the other side, you come out, and there's the Taj Mahal. Now, we did end up hiring somebody to show us around, and this individual was, I'll put it that he was a little bit too helpful. He kept grabbing our cameras and saying, pose like this, pose, So he really wanted to earn what we were going to pay him, and and you'll see this is the India shirt that I purchased, and I actually have it buttoned, so that must have been a good day that day. So, but here is what is outside of the Taj Mahal. And if you look straight forward through the opening, you can see the opening of the Taj Mahal. So everything is very symmetrical, very well planned out. They had some construction going on. All of this writing on the wall, so to the left and the right, you see right here. If I remember correctly, that is Sanskrit, and it is passages from the Quran. So in India, there is a mix of Hinduism and Muslims. And so this was the Taj Mahal, and some of these areas were more Islam than necessarily Hindu. So here we are going through this, kind of through this entryway through the building, and we're about to see the Taj Mahal. Now this was, there was some sort of a religious holiday going on at this time. So that's why there is the number of people. And of course you have the smog. Now I do understand that the smog is somewhat seasonal. So when it gets warmer out, and I don't know if that's because the hot air rises, you have less smog. So other parts of other times of the year, my understanding is you would come here and the skies would be blue and there would not be smog. So part of it is seasonal, but it's because the smog has nowhere to go this time of year. So there's the Taj Mahal off in the distance. It really was a cool thing to look at. We learned that those 4 towers are actually built on a slight angle away from the Taj Mahal, so that if there were ever a problem with them standing, earthquake, or I don't know that they get earthquakes, but the idea is that if they ever toppled, they would topple away from the Taj Mahal and not into the courtyard. So we've got probably a lot more pictures because our our tour guide that we hired definitely wanted us to have lots of pictures. Uh, we did get to a point, once again, eventually you just have to say something. So we did get to a point where I had to just say, no more pictures. We want you to do this. And there were other things that this tour guide did that, and he was watching out for us. And so, so I got to give him credit for that. But one of the things that he did was when we had to stand in line at the Taj Mahal, uh, he would take cuts. I mean, he would want us to step over the chains and step over and just kind of go up right to the kind of the front door and not wait in line. Fortunately, I did not. Mercy and I didn't do that. We didn't follow him. He kept egging us on and saying, "Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on." And at some point, there was a guard up on the porch of the Taj Mahal and blew her whistle and said something, but you could tell he argued a little bit with her, but in the end we ended up standing in line with everyone else, which is really what I wanted to do. I just wasn't comfortable. Number one, being a white male, and I just kind of take cuts and go right up there. I mean, I felt that there was something that was just something I couldn't do. I mean, it really made me uncomfortable. So Mercy and I chose to stay in line, and wait to go in. Some more pictures there. There's a good picture of the Taj Mahal. We're getting closer, so now you can see the intricate marble work and so some of these are out of order because Mercy sent hers to the phone, but there's a really nice picture of the Taj Mahal. When you look at the people up here, you get some perspective on how large this building actually is. Um, it was funny. Our tour guide wanted us to guess how tall this thing was up here. This spire. I don't know if that's what it's called. And what I did is I kind of visualized one of these men being, maybe 6 feet tall, and then I kind of stacked on top of each other. And I thought, well, that looks like 5 men could be stacked on top of each other. So I guess 30 feet. And oh my goodness, did I win the lottery? Because this guy was amazed that I had guessed 30 feet. And I just, he said, you read that somewhere. You already knew that. And I said, no. I said, if you look at the people, look at how small they are, and then you kind of pretend to stack them on, you get about 5 people. So anyway, I did some math, did some problem solving. So here's the courtyard. You can see the building that we came through. So this is all the courtyard between. There's a nice picture of the Taj Mahal. Once we got here, we are in line. At some point, I think I have a picture of it somewhere, but at some point, everybody has to put on these blue shoe covers, kind of like what you would wear in a newer home. If you're touring a new home, sometimes they have you put these blue things, or doctor's offices, you put something over your shoes. So we had to do that. And this is the backside of the Taj Mahal, showing you the grounds where the person who built the Taj Mahal was going to build the shadow of the Taj Mahal, which was going to be black. So he wanted one white building, which he did. That's the Taj Mahal. And then he was going to reflect that across the river with an identical building that was built with black marble. And of course, that never happened. The picture of the courtyard, if you look inside of those arches and the tops of the domes, and again, keep in perspective, if you look at how tall the people are, that gives you an idea of how large the Taj Mahal is. And here we are heading back. So we stopped at this little garden, took some pictures here. And once again, I found another website that I could kind of look at the air quality. And yeah, so IQ Air, that website, you can see all of the red. And I'm trying to see on the map where we are. That might be Agra right there. I'm not positive, but that would make sense with respect to where we were driving. And here we are coming back, and again, just the smog. We tried to leave early because driving at night was incredibly stressful. And it was stressful, especially with the fog. I mean, the thing I kept thinking of was driving in Michigan. If you have to drive in like whiteout conditions, it was like that. And so people were driving with their hazards on, and yet people still drove very aggressively. I'm to this day I think about that trip and I think I am surprised we didn't see somebody seriously injured. I'm surprised we were not in an accident because there were some close calls, but they seem to know what they're doing when they drive in conditions like this. So here we are going it's a little more closer to night through the fog. Oh, I'm sorry, not the fog, the smog. That this is not fog. And every once in a while the smog would lift or we'd slow down. So I thought this was really interesting. So here is an IT company. So this is Fast Tag Office. It's the Sinai IT solution. I assume they mean information technology, and so it's curious because in our country when we call for help on our computers from America, often we're talking to Indians. And Indians are incredibly intelligent at problem solving and knowing this technology. And the people we met, it was I was just curious because a lot of them knew a lot about technology but didn't necessarily have it. And I, as an educator, I found myself quite curious about, little office spaces like this. Like, okay, here's the Fast Tag company, and it's an IT solution company, and you look in there, and I'm not seeing any technology, but here's a little stop that we stopped at, and I got out and took pictures. I ended up going up and talking to some of these men that were just sitting around having a drink. And for the most part, people knew English. And so that's one of the creative horns that some of the bigger trucks had. Yeah, but I would go up and they asked me what I thought of India. I remember this group of guys at the table. What do you think of India? And I said I absolutely love it. I said I'm so glad that I have this chance to come here. And you just saw their faces light up. Like okay, it was almost like that's all they needed to know is that I was enjoying their environment. And here we are going back through the tunnel. Now, this is the other tunnel, so there would be two of them. Oh, and this came across from William Shatner. You can look that up. That's an interesting quote, but that has nothing to do with India. That must have been on my phone as I was checking Facebook or something. And then the following day, we took a journey to the Jungle Hotel. Now, we were still staying at our place in Jaipur, and this place was about a 3-hour drive, and this is where we were going on our Ranthambore safari. And I helped the driver find it, so we were kind of off-roading a little bit, and we had hopes of seeing a tiger. Like we wanted to see a tiger, so we were getting ready to go on this safari, and we wanted to arrive on time. And so we found, I think it's called the Jungle View Resort or something like that. So here's the Jungle View Resort. And I went in, and there were a few families playing badminton, and so I had a chance as the women and their children were playing badminton. The men were sitting around talking, and I went up and introduced myself again because most people in the world do speak English. That's just a second language that people learn around the world. So myself and these gentlemen had just some discussion about India. They were Muslim, so I had a chance to ask some questions about Islam, and yeah, we just had a nice time. And later we would have the chance to join them for lunch, but because of the smog and because of the stress of driving, we turned down the invitation to have dinner with them and their families because we really wanted to travel during the day. We did not want another experience of traveling at night with all of the smog. So here we are heading to the Ranthambore Reserve, where there are, I believe, 80 tigers, and they're the tigers that you see at the zoo, the black and the orange stripes. So they're those kinds of tigers. And we were with two other couples who had gone on a few other safaris. So what we had learned after the fact is we had learned that you're supposed to book several safaris if you want to increase your chances of seeing a tiger. They were able to see tigers, and they had pictures on their phones that they showed us. But here we are going through town, going toward Ranthambore National Park. And you can see how high I'm sitting. They call this a Jeep. I mean, it's a Jeep without the top on, but it's technically not a Jeep. I'm not sure what brand car it is, but they call it a Jeep. So Mercy was a little cold, so we bought her a Ranthambore National Park vest. They only had extra large. And here we are in the park. As soon as you got into the park, as soon as you drove through the gate, and there's like 6 or 8 gates into this area, you could not hear any honking horns. You couldn't hear all of the sounds that you were used to. It was just very quiet and very peaceful. And that was worth the trip itself. Even though we did not see any tigers, it was worth just being able to come to a point and just have some, number one, see green. We saw trees, and we drove under trees, and we saw grass. That was wonderful. And we did see some pretty cool animals here, but some of them were, very similar to what I think you would see in Michigan. Now, I forget what kind of deer they call them, but they reminded me of white-tailed deer. But the thing is, the bucks, when you looked at the size of the size of their antlers, were huge. If you look close, you can. It's kind of getting blurred in with the branches, but you can see that this one has quite large antlers, and I've got some better pictures a little bit later. But we're driving down here, and we're looking for tigers, but we're also coming across these other animals, which was really cool. It's peaceful. You're getting green. You've got fresh air. We had a larger tour group come behind us. We were in a Jeep, like I said, I think with 6 people, and then they had these larger safari trucks that you could ride. This is right here where we camped out a little bit because we saw tiger prints, and they were fresh. So you'll notice down on the ground right here, you'll notice a tiger walked this way. You can see the size of the tiger paws were huge, so we were very excited, hoping to hear them roar or make a sound, because then that's how they know where to go to see the tigers. But this particular tiger did not make any noise, and we sat there for quite some time. This seems obvious, but when he pointed it out, it's like, oh yeah, I should have recognized that. But they knew that the tracks were fresh because of the number of tire tracks that went over the tracks, that went over the paw prints. And here we are taking a break. Yeah, this is what they call a Jeep. It's from Suzuki, and it's Maruti, and it says Gypsy there. But yeah, they call this a Jeep, and it does look like a Jeep, but it is not. It is a Maruti. And I did do a little bit of research and found out that the individual who owns this particular company is quite wealthy. Uh, so there's the. I had to get a picture of the dashboard. You got the pool carpet down there. Uh, Everything is. I'm assuming four on the floor. So you got the clutch pedal, things like that. So kind of some old school driving. Cactus. And a lot of these remote areas, these remote stops, of course, had to have solar panels. And here we are going back into town. Now, on my big camera, I've got a lot of pictures of birds. I've got a lot of pictures of these large, like bulls, that had antlers that were absolutely huge. They reminded me of moose. I mean, they were that big. And so here we are on the way back. Uh, on the way back, I discovered that I could have fun with. There were kids often that would hang out on those balconies, and they were preparing for the kite festival. So one of their religious festivals revolves around kites, and so the kids at this point are really into kites, and there's kites being flown everywhere, and they're out on the balcony. And it was kind of fun because when I found kids on the balcony flying their kites, if I could make eye contact with them, because I kind of stuck out. They would look down from the balcony and there would be this white face. And I would just make a face, or I would, give them thumbs up or cheer them on or something, and they would just some of them would just go into these belly laughs, and it's just fun to kind of kind of interact in that way, and because I hadn't done that, I had kind of ignored things. So I suppose at this time I'm getting comfortable with where I'm at, and I kind of know what I can get away with a little bit. But all of the fruit stands. This is a little shop that we stayed at on the way back. And, right on the front of the counter is the swastika. The swastika means peace. It is a Hindu symbol that unfortunately the Nazis appropriated and used of their own accord. There is something about the direction the swastika moves. So one is a swastika and one is a swasta, and there's a little bit different ending to it. I don't know which one the Nazis. I don't know which ones the Nazis decided to use or appropriate, but around in this area, when you see the swastika, it's about peace. It's a symbol of peace. And here we are heading back. Fascinating. All of the dilapidated shelters around, and the stores that are falling apart and all this, and then you come across these structures. In this case, you come across this highway, and they underlight it in these really cool purple lights, and you just find yourself scratching your head thinking, no, why would you do that instead of this? And but it was very cool. It was very cool looking. It was just interesting that particular stretch of the bridge would be lit up in purple, and then you drive into reality where there's dogs and there's cows. And so I took some pictures from breakfast. Oh my goodness, it's 39 minutes. I'm gonna have to stop here. And the pictures of the sign. But this is back at our hotel that I showed several pictures of. So this would have been, I believe this would have been the day that we left. And just below our room was a little prayer area, a little temple area, and this had many of the different avatars of God, the different Hindu gods in it, whether it was pictures or statues or So this is a place where I took my shoes off and went in and took several pictures. So yeah, I'm going to start wrapping this up here. So once again, we have a long video, and hopefully people enjoy it and get something out of it, or can put it on fast forward and just get the pictures. There's Ganesha right there. There's Humana, kind of the god of adventure. There's Krishna, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. I forget who that is with the bull. It might be Durga. So at some point, I hope to become a little more eloquent, particularly when I'm teaching my students and I'm saying, well, I think the name was this, and I'm not sure about this, but my students are pretty much used to, that's the way that my brain works. I tell them at the beginning of every course that they take, I tell them that I deal in the art of impression much more than the science of details, and they seem to be okay with that. And then right outside here, I'll end with this. Right outside our hotel, I happened upon a real Jeep. So I got some pictures of this Jeep. All right. Well, namaste. It is time for me to go to bed. So please leave comments, ask questions. I would love to dialogue about anything more you would like to know. All right. Namaste, my friends.